I think about a phrase in business a lot. And in our office, this phrase is a 4-letter word. Like it is a big, big no-no. And the phrase goes something like this. You're asking somebody to do something and they go, but that's the way we've always done it. And that is the death knell of creativity. That's the death knell of innovation. The way you used to do it can matter. I don't want to say it never matters, but if you're trapped in the past, you cannot focus on the future. And so my entire podcast today is going to be about the psychological effects of change and why changing is so brutal, why it is so difficult. Even when the change is necessary and we know it's important, we resist it. And there's some like solid, fundamental psychological systems going on that protect us. Like we can't just change all the time. So resistance to change is actually kind of necessary, but we have to fight that off. And I think that, so this podcast I'm going to dig into is certainly, I'm going to relate it back to schools and that there's an entirely new reality in the public school space right now. And we need every school of every type and every family to get on board with trying to improve things and to realize that the past is the past and we need to be looking towards the present and the future in order to improve. And if we're stuck in the past, we're the dinosaurs. We're going to become extinct. And it's really hard to change though, right? So this new reality of what public schools are facing, and school choice has expanded, competition strong, families have a lot of options. I for those of you that have listened to this before, I'm a proponent of school choice. I love school choice. I'm American. I love America. I love choice. I love competition. I just want it to be fair. It's not right now. It is not designed to be fair right now. It's going to cripple public schools if we don't change it fairly. But in order to get out there and start actively competing, to do something different, you got to accept the fact that there's a new reality. Now, this podcast can help you, and I hope it helps you in any aspect of your life, whether or not you want to start a new job, you want to help your company or your family out in some way, you want to start a new workout regimen, you want to eat better. All these things are tough to do, but to understand the psychology of it and why we're resistant and why why subconsciously, emotionally, psychologically, we are very resistant to change is baked in every human. It's okay. It doesn't mean anyone's bad. Somebody that you want to change, they're not bad because they don't change. You trying to change and not being able to achieve that change doesn't make you a bad person. It just doesn't. But I'm hoping that if we break down the claims about change, but then the reality and the psychological barriers to it, it may help us all change a little faster, change a little bit more concretely and a little bit more permanently. And I think it'll help our lives. And sometimes you're going to make a choice not to change, and that's cool too, man. Right? So let's talk about before I get into the first claim, I want to say this again because, I love over communicating. Just because you tried to change and you didn't does not mean you're broken. It means you're human. It doesn't mean you got to stop trying though. All right. So let's don't blame. Let's don't judge. Let's just kind of accept the situation and then try to improve. Okay. Too many people beat themselves up about this because they fail at something that they didn't do the first time. And it's like this old adage, try again. Right. Okay. So let's talk about the claims, right? The first claim is that if change is good, people should just do it. Just do it. Well, the reality is that people often resist change even when they know they could get change help because of a few psychological barriers. One reason is called a status quo bias. Status quo bias. And this is basically saying that people tend to prefer the current state of affairs where their life is simply because it's their current state of affair. And I know that's a bit of a vicious cycle right there, but familiarity has real psychological value. We feel safe, we feel secure, and we're often much more afraid of what we do not know, even if it could be potentially positive, than kind of the area that we're in now. This means that even positive change can just feel risky because it interrupts what we know is stable. Now, stable doesn't mean good or bad. It may even be bad. This is oftentimes why people don't leave a bad situation because it feels stable and grounded. And there's an old axiom. It went like this. Okay. So The way to test this is you say, look, okay, there's a river and it's got white water, rocks, and it's a difficult swim. You can survive, but it's going to be a difficult swim. But if you swim across that river, I'll give you $1,000. I'll give you $1,000. Okay, some people will do it. Most people won't. Most people just won't do it for $1,000. But then if you change the scenario slightly, just slightly, and you say, if you don't swim across the river, I'm going to take away $1,000. Wait a minute, you're going to take away, you're going to disrupt my status quo. I had $1,000. That was comfortable. I liked having that money, but I'm going to lose something. Losing something will affect more change than gaining positivity. So people like the status quo. They like comfort. And that's comfort and change are like the opposite sides of the world. They're not the same side. They're not opposite sides of the same coin. They are just different things. You cannot change and improve and stay in the status quo. But it's comfortable and it feels good, right? Because we know what it means. Another reason is this loss aversion that I was talking about just now. People tend to feel potential losses more strongly than equivalent gains. So when change shows up, people often do not first think, wow, could I improve myself? They often say, well, what am I going to lose if I try this? I'll lose this good job. I'll lose the ability to grow and prosper and to become fit or whatever it is. The loss is comfortable. And so this loss aversion is a big deal to people, and it's baked in your psychology. So I just need you to know that to kind of accept it. And I think about this. I think about it quite a bit. Is that, am I afraid of losing something? Because if I'm afraid of losing something, it means I'm holding on to the past and I cannot gain something in the future. So you got to let go. There's this really kind of interesting book called the 10X Growth is Easier Than 2X Growth. And it's really about cutting out all the things that you're currently doing that are not getting you to the next thing. But in order to cut those 80% of the things that don't add value in your life, if you don't cut those, then you're just going to keep staying where you are. But you've got to reduce them, but you're taking a risk that the new things will work out, right? So an everyday kind of example of this is a person knows they need to start exercising, walking every morning. Like we all know, everyone knows that exercise and walking will make you feel better, right? I mean, maybe not initially. Maybe initially make you tired when you get back and you're a little exhausted. But a good walk every morning, that's going to make you feel better. And you know it's going to help you with your weight, your blood pressure, your mood, your energy. But when the alarm goes off in the morning, the brain does not naturally spotlight the long-term health benefits of that walk and getting up. What it does feel is a short-term loss of warmth and comfort and risk and easy. And it's nice. So you got to get up. You got to get up. And even Socrates said this. I think it was Socrates 2,000 years ago. He goes, the birds get up and do something. The bees get up and do something. And so shall we. But it's hard because it's comfortable in that bed. Now, it's comfortable, but it ain't making you any better. All right, it's not making you any better. So let's assume a person wants to eat better. I'm trying to give you some real world examples out there, right? Is a person wants to eat better. I'm always working on this one, man. I fall off the wagon all the time. As a person wants to eat better, and they know that meal prep would help. I know that meal prep would help me. I do not meal prep, right? I don't count calories or weigh things. I know it would help me. And they know that less fast food would improve how they feel. I mean, there's so many studies out there about the negative effects of processed food and like how it just makes you tired. We know this, but it's so convenient and it's so easy and it's a habit in so many cases and it's fast. And it's rewarding right now because, man, it tastes good. It does. It tastes good, man. Fast food tastes good, man. I don't always feel good afterwards, but that change is hard. It's hard to get out of this. I used to love Cokes. And I cut it down because I knew it was bad, and I went to Diet Cokes. And then I tried to drink a Coke after that, and it tasted just like garbage, but it took me years. Now I don't drink any kind of soda. And I tasted a Diet Dr. Pepper a few weeks ago, and I haven't had a soda in, I don't know, a decade plus or something like this, and it tasted awful. I lost the taste buds for it. I remember that it used to taste very good, but you can change You can change how things taste to you, but it takes a lot of work, right? And so that change is really hard for me, right? Let's assume that a person, let's get real. We have kids in school, we have people in life, and they know they need to stop scrolling at night. You're going to sleep better. You know it's addictive. You say, I'm going to scroll for 30 minutes. It's 3 hours later, right? You know you'd sleep better. You know you could go do something more productive, but the brain often chooses immediate comfort over delayed benefit. And that, isn't that the problem with like government and society as a general? We want short-term wins. Show me the money, but long-term, it's not helping us. So I think that one of the first things you got to do is kind of realize that you got to be a long-term player on all these things to actively change. You really, really got to change your wiring to say, I am going to suffer now. This is going to hurt. This is going to be painful. My old habits are hurting my future self. It feels good now, but I want to feel good later. And you just got to recognize that and keep reminding yourself of that. All right, so let's take another claim, all right? I hear people say this all the time. When people resist change, they just don't care enough. They just don't care. That's not true. That's not true. It could be that you want somebody to change or you want your organization to change and they don't want to. That's not the same thing as saying they don't care. They just don't believe in change. So really what I'm breaking down today is not when you're an adult, right? If you don't want to change, say I don't want to change. I have zero problem with you being an adult. I don't like it when somebody says, I want to change it and they don't do anything about it. They don't struggle. They don't work. Just be honest. Take the pressure off, man. Be like, I was talking with one of my elder statesman relatives this past couple weeks, and I was like, yeah, somebody. So I didn't say it, but I heard something. You need to stop drinking so much. It was their mother, and she's like, why? I'm 88. I'm not going to change, man. I like the wine. Zip it, man. Know thyself, man. That's not her not caring about changing enough. She just doesn't want to change. And that's cool too. Okay. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is when you know you need to change, the reality has shifted out there in the world and you're having a hard time or people around you are having a hard time. It doesn't mean they don't care. A lot of resistance is subconscious self-protection. All right. The brain is not always asking what is best. A lot of times it is asking what feels safest, easiest, or less threatening right now. Your brain is like, I heard somebody explain it once, that your brain is like a teenager. It wants a lot of sugar to survive. It wants to do everything it can to protect itself now. And it doesn't think long-term. The subconscious aspects of it, right? So this is where severe psychological and neurological factors really matter. So some of the key factors besides resistance to change, I've got like 5 of them here. I think that I wrote down 5 or 6, is first off, we talked about the status quo bias. 1, you need to know that these exist in you so you can realize when they're occurring. Awareness is really important here, right? So first, status quo. We naturally lean towards what we already know. Familiarity reduces uncertainty. And this is why people say you need to do something scary a lot, or you're going to get very resistant to change. If you don't create the habit of changing in some areas, then it's going to get harder and harder to make those changes. I like to do something scary every day, but I don't. I like to do something big and scary several times a year, for sure. But I don't always do something every single day, right? But I do know that the people that do something that scares them a little bit every single day are more, what's the word I'm looking for? They're able to adapt and change faster than I am. Right? So you got to go out there and start practicing little things. Just start making a habit out of breaking the status quo. Little things. Drive to work a different way than you drove to work yesterday. Just pick a different route. Like that alone is breaking up the status quo. It doesn't sound like much, but it's a good little habit. It's a good little habit. Maybe you get to see a different area of your town, right? So, break the status quo. Another one is this habit circulatory and automatic behavior response, right? And this is really linked to this basal ganglia area of the brain, especially as repeated actions become more automatic, more flexibility and effort. Really, I'm trying to figure out a way to simplify this language. Let me say it this way in plain English, all right? Old routines become very efficient. New routines require more conscious effort. The extra middle work is one reason why change feels so tiring. So, in order to build a new habit, it takes a lot more work than just leaning into an old one. And so, I think when you're thinking about change and you're thinking about doing something different, you just got to sit back and accept the fact that one, you're breaking up the status quo. Good for you. Number two, it's going to be really hard. I don't like when say, it's easy, it's simple. No, because everything that you do now is on autopilot regarding those habits. And to break autopilot means you have to take cruise control off, you have to take the self-driving off, you got to grab the steering wheel, and you got to work the car. You're the car in this scenario, all right? And then you've got to deal with this third thing, which is the amygdala in this threat response. And the amygdala is involved in detecting and responding to potential threat. And uncertainty, unknown, breaking the status quo can make the brain treat changes like a threat, like a danger signal. Danger, something new is happening, right? This does not mean every new policy triggers literal panic, but it does kind of help explain why people can react emotionally before they react logically. And this threat response is so real that at first, when somebody suggests something big and scary and audacious, let's talk about schools just for a second. We'll go in there and say, hey, man, you got to start recruiting students, man. You got to start training students. You need people to do customer service training. And I was giving a course to principals. I think I had 150 principals, and we were doing a customer service type training where we were trying to teach them to be more welcoming and to realize that the reality has changed and that you've got to deliver not just a better product, but you have to present it well too, right? You have to have the sizzle and the steak, not just the steak. I think a lot of public schools have the steak, but they don't have enough sizzle. This is the sizzle and how to deal with tough conversations. And before I said hello, I stood up there and I went, hi, and a principal stood up in the back room. And the principal went, I don't need to be here. This is ridiculous. I'm insulted. And just went off. And I went, I wasn't invited to get here. I just met you. I haven't even met you. This was the first 60 seconds I'd arrived and people had just sat down. The principal was so offended. And I really thought about that afterwards as I was a little bit dumbfounded. I'm from the South, man. It was just rude. All that stuff might have been true. They might not have needed the training. Might have been a total waste of their time, but I was still a guest. But I didn't say anything. I just kind of, And I thought, boy, their threat response just went through the roof. They were so upset. The person I found out later had been a principal for 20 plus years. It was well over 20 years. And their threat response of having to change and adapt to a new reality really triggered a threat response. And they left. They walked out of it. Fight or flight kicked in, and they start with a fight and they ended with a flight. And sometimes it won't be quite that literal, but recognizing yourself, man, how scary it is to think about waking up, exercising, or, trying a new job or trying something different at work. Whatever that is, be okay with the fact that it's going to be a little scary. It's going to be hard and it's going to be scary. And you're going to survive and you're going to be all right, And so, but you have to remind yourself, because emotionally, your brain won't let you get away with it. It'll say, no. This is scary. This is awful. Let's boogie. Let's get out of here, right? That's what it's doing. You have to go, take a deep breath, do those 4-point breathing, up, across, down, inhale, get recentered and realize that the fight or flight is kicking in. And you're going to be all right. But you can't just act like you're never afraid of anything. You can't just act like you're bulletproof, right? Because then you'll end up actually deciding not to change and trying to make excuses for it, right? You'll say, well, I didn't really want to change anyway. But you did, and you did, but it got scary and it got hard, and I don't want you to give up, right? Okay, so there's also a thing called the belief preservations, right? Ugh, I know. Speech impediment still gets me to this day. I'm working on it. All right. So, but here's where this goes. People often hold on to our prior beliefs, even when new evidence pushes us in the other direction. especially when those beliefs are tied to identity, experience, or pride. Ego, think ego. And change does not just challenge behavior. Sometimes it challenges the story that we've told ourselves about who we are and what we do and what we know, right? This is called anchoring bias. It's one of these cognitive biases. Anchoring biases that we really lock into the first thing we heard, even if it's wrong. And the only way to do that is to be more curious and to realize that even when you're wrong, doesn't make you not a good person, doesn't make you not smart. So just like try not to get locked in to old beliefs. Question everything. You want to be a critical thinker? This is the way to do it. Question everything, right? And then sometimes there's resistance to change because of cognitive load, right? Which is learning new processes. Learning new processes is, like we said earlier, it's just mentally expensive. Working memory and attention are limited. So even if the new system is better, the effort required to learn it can make the old system feel more attractive simply because it's easier and just not within your cognitive load right now. And so I think it's okay to recognize that right now may not be the time to change for yourself in some issue. Maybe you're just overwhelmed. Maybe you're tired, and it's okay to put a book into that and to say, like, I'm not going to make that one particular change. I'm going to do it next month. I'm going to do it next week. I mean, put it on the calendar, though. Remind yourself, don't forget it. But it is okay sometimes to take the pressure off and not to try to do 100 changes all at once. Don't try to change everything. Even if you're a train wreck, like your boy Brian here. Don't change everything at once. Incremental, small changes that you can absorb, build over time, okay? So basically this resistance to change in general is not because people don't care. It's because people fear the unknown, fear of losing control, mental fatigue, and threat to their own ego and who they think that they are as a person. And I'm just saying your beliefs aren't who you are. What you do is who you are, right? If the beliefs are what you do, maybe the beliefs are what you are, but it's actions. It's actions that speak so much louder than your belief system, all right? So you can change. You can get a little bit better, and it doesn't mean you were a bad person earlier, right? Okay, so here's another claim. If people really want to change, motivation should be enough. Horse, donkey, BS, blah, blah. Motivation wanes. Motivation may begin the change, but discipline and habits are what are going to sustain it. And that's why we go kind of back to the status quo thing, right? Is that you've got to start developing habits of breaking up your status quo. Literally, like driving to work a different direction. If you go for a walk around your neighborhood, go for a walk around a different neighborhood. Make sure it's safe. All right. And all these little things let you know that you can handle change. It's kind of like somebody that travels a lot. They know how to handle cities they've never been into. They know how to handle subways. But people that don't, then they just stop traveling at all because it's just too scary. It's just too scary. It's just too hard, right? And you can be motivated to travel, but you got to create habits to travel. Just kind of the way it is, right? And that's why that phrase at the beginning of this podcast is so dangerous. People can like, we're motivated to change. We're motivated to build a better school system. We're motivated. But when the rubber meets the road, they say things like, but that's the way we've always done it. I'm motivated to change, but that's the way we've always done it. And that means they're motivated, but they haven't broke the habit of the status quo, right? All right. So brains love efficiency, right? Repeated behaviors become easier over time, which is why habits can feel automatic, but practice can reduce cognitive load and shift behavior towards more automatic responding. And the problem is that these old habits have such a head start in our lives. They're already built that you have all these cues, you have all this repetitiveness, and it may have served you well a year ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like I think about all the resistance I get to this school choice movement and the fact that I want public schools to compete and win. I know they can. We do it for schools all over the nation. Well, I don't think we should have to do this. Tough. It's a new reality. I know you've done this for 30 years, and it doesn't mean you wasted 30 years. It doesn't mean that you did a great job, but now we have to adjust. It doesn't reflect poorly on your past, but you still have to change to be awesome in the new future dichotomy. All right. So like, let's I'll give you some everyday examples on why motivation is not the be all. I don't like it when people say, well, all you got to do is be motivated. So someone joins a gym, start of the year, everyone's motivated, New Year's resolution. I don't think you need New Year's resolutions. I think you need like daily, weekly, monthly resolutions. You don't need to wait. You don't need to, waiting is another 4-letter word in this office, you don't need to wait till the beginning of the year. I mean, if that works for you, cool. But if you want to start a workout regime, don't wait till Monday. Start tomorrow, start tonight, right? Just get to it. Start building that habit. Okay, so someone goes to the gym in a burst of motivation, and for 10 days, they're locked in, they're very motivated. Then work gets busy. Their body gets sore because they went too hard because they were super motivated. Mornings get harder. That bed feels comfortable, and the routine has not become a habit. So you stop. You stop. The problem was not that they didn't care. The problem was that the new behavior has not become stable enough yet to become an automatic. It becomes automatic. And somebody said, I read some science on this, that it takes 14 days to make a habit, to build a habit. But if you gap a day, if you miss it, so if you like day 1, day 2, 3, day 1 through 9, you do it, but you skip day 10 and 11. Well, you can't go to 14 now, and you can't even go to 17. Like, you can't just add 2 or 3 days to it. It actually keeps compounding the problem, and building the habit stretches out further and further. And this is true of like even dog training. Like, I'm sorry, dogs are awesome animals. Dogs are people too. But if you're training a dog and you say to sit 3 times, and then you make it sit, it's going to think it has 3 times to sit. But if you tell it to sit and you don't make it sit, now it thinks maybe the word sit doesn't mean to sit, right? So when you tell a dog to sit, you got to make it sit. Tell the dog to sit, make it sit. You got to make it sit every single time to build a habit. And once you do that, those dogs will sit. But if you let them get away with it one time, you destroyed that 14-day pattern, right? So you're going to have to really understand that I'm motivated now, but I need discipline later. So I need to build some systems in place, maybe some accountability partners for whatever change I want. And when you tell people and you ask to be accountable, at least you got a little bug in your ear. But that's really scary. That's really scary because that'll affect our ego if we don't do it, right? So we don't want to hold each other accountable, right? So let's assume that a person says that they want to, save money. But every time they are stressed, bored, or tired, buying something small gives them immediate emotional relief. Makes them feel good. Saving is a better plan long term. Spending is a faster reward. They haven't built a habit for it. It's not that they're not motivated, but they want to feel good and they haven't developed a habit of saving yet. So that's what I mean. So you've got to give your time to let the old habits die and to build the new habits. And new habits are expensive time-wise and energy-wise, cognitive load-wise, right? All right, let's do another claim. I love these claims. I was writing them down on a flight back the other day because I gave a speech in Florida about the new reality of school choice. And this audience, by and large, really got that. I mean, they were really dynamic and they saw it, but some of them talked to me afterwards and they're like, I just can't get my people on board with this. And I go, well, why is that? And one of them said this. They said this claim. They said, they're lazy. Well, they could be, but usually they fail to change because that old pattern is easier for the brain to run. It's efficient and they haven't formed a new habit. Right? So I don't like this. They're lazy. And it could be oftentimes that it's not laziness, but the change is vague. And what they need to do is vague. The new behavior is unclear to them, exactly what they're supposed to do. They just don't have the guidance for it. Like savings, maybe they don't know exactly what to do with the money when they save it. They don't know where to put it. They don't know how much. Maybe they think that saving a little bit is okay and it's not enough. Or they want to develop a new eating habit, but they don't know what foods are good. It's a little vague and they think that they're doing a good job, right? And the old cues are everywhere. And we've got to have a lot more grace in our life. The cues. This is why they say, like when somebody, I think they say this, I didn't go through AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, or any of those others, but you cannot hang around people that are alcoholic. If you want to be a better person, you've got to hang around people that don't do the things you don't want to do anymore, right? So what they say, you're like who you surround yourself with. And so if you're still hanging around the same habits all the time, it's going to be hard to break those habits, right? And the reward is like, that's why you got to kind of get entire situations adjusted and get away from those bad habits. So like you want to eat better, you got to go clean out your closet. Man, you got to go throw everything away, man. I remember I got a little heavy, I got a lot heavy when we had our baby. And then I shredded the weight, started getting back on. I stopped racing for a few years, bike racing, and I got a little heavy. And then I shaved off like this weight, and I kept all my old clothes, my fat boy clothes. I kept them. Those habits are right there in front of me. And I was like, self-fulfilling prophecy, man. I've gotten rid of them all now. That was a long time ago. All right. But those habits of having those old, bigger clothes for Brian were laying around, you know what I mean? And I also don't do a lot of group rides with people I really enjoy because it doesn't fit my racing schedule, if that makes sense. Like I can't just go and ride and then go get a couple beers and a couple pizzas after I ride. It kind of destroys what I was trying to do, but it sure was fun. So those old habits and old cues are everywhere around us. So you got to really kind of watch having those old habits around us. And if you're trying to help your team, your employees, your staff, families, or whatever, you got to get rid of some of those old habits too. So let's take a teacher or administrator that wants to adopt a new communication system. The new system is harder. The training is rushed and nobody explains how it will actually make things better. So they're going to revert to what they already know, right? If you can't make it simple, you're not going to be even get close to starting a habit. And that's why so many leaders, their entire role in life is KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it simple. In the Army, we said stupid. Some people say sexy. I don't know what. K-I-S-S, keep it simple, silly, right? Is because if it's simple, you're more likely to be able to repeat it in your brain over and over and over to make a habit out of it. It's not rebellion. It's not laziness. It's just hard. And I think it's okay to accept that. All right, so let's do another claim. I got a few more claims. I think these are fun things. These are things I've heard from people about the new reality of public education and that we've got to compete. And they say, this is directly related to public schools. I heard this one, I think it was a month ago, which was public schools just need to understand they are facing competition. Yeah. Okay. Understanding it doesn't create a new habit, right? It doesn't change behavior. I'm aware. I'm aware I have a heroin problem, but I don't know how to stop it. I mean, I don't want to be silly like that, but it's awareness without a plan, without an executable idea of what it takes gets us back to that whole entirely vague concept. And so it's like telling somebody that they're wrong, telling somebody that they're behind on their work, telling somebody that they're not doing a good job is not coaching. It is not coaching. It is lecturing, right? So maybe they adjust a little bit, but they don't have a clear path and they are aware that they're not doing a good job. They're aware that something's not working out, but they don't have the tools, the experience, or the habits to change. Your job is to help. All right. Your job is to help. So let's do another one. All right. Let's do this. The answer is to push harder and demand more from myself or from my people around me. Forced change can create real resistance. And I see this a lot in organizations and structures. We're just going to tell our people that this is the way it's going to be without explaining the why. It's very important to explain the why you need to change. You got to paint that long-term vision for people. I get it. Our brains aren't programmed to automatically do that because they're teenagers. They want to do the short-term stuff. But if you paint a vision and you remind them about the long-term vision, this is where the structure then can be easier to enforce because you're starting to develop buy-in, right? People are starting to buy in. This is true for yourself too. Like you need to really paint a picture. I'm not like a hippie, but like this visualization exercises aren't always good for me. But like, hey man, if I do well and I work out hard, I eat right and stuff, I'm going to be able to do this in 6 months, 9 months, a year, 5 years, 20 years, right? So pushing harder doesn't create a habit. I mean, it could, but just blindly pushing harder, it's like that. Work harder. I don't know what that means. Work harder how? It's just too vague. And so instead, tell people how they need to work harder. Tell people exactly what they need to do, what those tasks are to change and get better. So let's take nutrition. I don't know. That seems like a good one we're facing as a nation right now, which is, hey man, only thing I'm going to suggest is you kind of stay away from fried food. And let's like reduce our soda count. Like that's a good action item. We can do another step in a month, right? But we all, fried food is delicious. It is really bad for us. It is really bad for us. And say like, look, let's just reduce that. Then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to add some more fruits and vegetables, but this is like how I would cook them. I would do baked vegetables, like get broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts now. Cut them up, put a lot of salt and pepper on them, throw them in the oven, bake them. It's delicious. It won't be initially, but it will be after you create a habit on this. And just kind of paint a picture of that at some point you'll actually start to crave these things, right? And so, or like exercise. A 10-minute walk beats doing nothing. But here, oh golly, this is one that really happens way too much. You all, I'm going to lecture you now. You all get so frustrated when you're not perfect. Let it go, let it go. I don't know the whole song. My daughter used to make me listen to it. So I think it's from Frozen, right? Which is let it go. And this is the key. You have an hour workout. You don't have time. You're tired. You're fatigued. And you can only do 20 minutes. Do 20 minutes. Do 15 minutes. 15 minutes every day is better than an hour once a week. It just is. Because one, you're building a habit. Two, you're getting some movement in, which is awesome. But the habit is the most critical thing. And I had this rule for fitness. I have it for work too. I don't feel good. I don't want to do it. I got to go anyway. I don't have to be productive. I don't have to do anything when I get there. I'm not talking about like illnesses and sick. I'm just talking about moodiness. But like for workouts, I say my job is for working out. I got to put my uniform on. I got to put my running stuff on. I got to put my gym stuff on. I got to put my biking stuff on. Whatever that day is, I got to put the outfit on and I got to go to the location. So I got to put a foot over a bike. I got to go to the gym. I don't have to do anything once I get there. I do not have to ride. I do not take the pressure off. Because when you say, man, I'm supposed to run 5 miles today, I'm just too tired. I can't run 5. So you run no miles? Go run half a mile. Go run half a mile. Oftentimes you'll end up going and running the 5, but you got to lie to your brain. You got to lie to it. And you got to say, well, brain, we're just going to run half a mile. Don't worry about it. We're just going to walk today. We're not going to run. We're not going to lift any weights, but we're going to show up. And I'll tell you, in the last 15 years, I can think of 2 workouts where I put my foot over the bike, I rode down the driveway, and I turned around and just quit. I was like, I cannot do it today. And those are probably the right calls, by the way. But I still kept the habit of showing up. And the 80% of the battle is showing up. 80% of the battle in almost all things is showing up. You got to be present to win. And so, you got to do things to keep organized and create habit. And I think that that's where I am terrified of getting injured and not keeping the habit of working out. I'm terrified of it because at my age, I'm terrified that I won't be able to get back into it. It'll just be too hard and too painful to recover from losing fitness to get back into it. I am too nervous to walk away from the company and take like a sabbatical to write another book because it'll be so hard to come back and get back into the flow of running a company. I'm trying to keep into habits and maybe I'm a little too crazy and a little anal about this stuff, but I want people and I want you to understand that here's the bigger truth. Change is hard. People get it, but having the structure and the format to change is what's hard. And it's not about motivation. It's about building habits and trying to picture the long term. And as far as schools go, the reality of it is we have to adapt. We have to change. The world is being shaped by school choice and competition. I think a lot of leaders understand this now. I don't think they did 3 or 4 years ago. But more of them are understanding now. But we've got to get everybody on our team to understand this. We got to get everybody up and down the ladder to be okay that this new reality doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean the job that they used to do wasn't valuable. And that's where the ego comes in. And that's why I see so much resistance to this, which is we don't need this, but you do. But you really, really do. And if you don't, the potential of more and more failing, public schools going the way to the dodo bird and becoming extinct is just too scary for society long term. It's just too scary. I mean, public schools are a public good, and without them, we're in real trouble as a society. And so don't get angry with yourself that you didn't affect that change. You didn't create that new habit. Don't get upset with your new team. Just keep digging in, accept that it's hard, but you're going to do it anyway. All right. I hope this helps.